So I'm going to read our text today, which is from Romans 12, verse 1 and 2. And we're starting a new series here at Branch and at Community Church as well, called Transformed. And we're going to be thinking about how, as believers, we become more like Christ. And we are presently like Christ. And in the future will be totally like Christ. So we're going to be thinking about that over the next couple of weeks. But I'd like, if you have it with you in front of you, I'm going to turn to Romans 12, 1 and 2, but it will come up on the screen as well, hopefully. Yeah, it is. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing and perfect will. Now, I've got a little confession to start off with today. I'm a bit of a bad shopper sometimes. You maybe have the similar problem. Frequently, I buy things and then I come home and I find that I've already bought them. So it's not a problem when I do this with baked beans and things like that, But if I'm honest, I kind of do it sometimes with other stuff. So, for example, recently I was searching on Vinted, which is a guilty secret of mine, and I was looking for a particular type of handbag. I really wanted a particular type, so I was looking and liking that one and loving that one and And eventually I bought a particular type of handbag, and then guess what? A couple of weeks later, I was like, oh yeah, I've already got a handbag like this. I've had this handbag for years and years and years. And I'd put it somewhere safe. I'd put it in a box on the top of my wardrobe. You know how you do? You put something somewhere safe and then you never find it again. And I found this handbag. And frequently this happens, doesn't it? I don't know about you, but I find that I have something, but I completely forget I've got it. And I wonder sometimes, actually, with our transformation, our being like Christ, it can be a little bit like that sometimes, can't it? Because we are people who are, when we become believers, when we become people that follow Christ, we become like him. We are people that, we're co-heirs with Christ. We're right in God's sight. We've moved from death into life. And we are sanctified. We're holy, like he is holy. But sometimes we can have that information and it can be like it's in a box. We put it somewhere safe and we've totally forgotten it. And we live in a different way. And some days, I don't know about you, some days I sense it, I know it. When I've got up early in the morning and I've had my quiet time with God and I've prayed and I've had breakfast and I've had no arguments with teenagers in the household. And then I go about my day and I'm kind to people and I get to places and I remember to pray and everything ticks on nicely. And I remember, oh yes, because I'm conformed to God's image. I'm like him. But then the next day, I sleep badly. I can't be bothered to get up in the morning, and then I pray badly, and we argue over breakfast, and then I bid my horn at people in the car, and so on and so forth. And I come home and I think, oh, I'm not that like Christ. But the reality is, I am always like Christ. I have been transformed into his image. It is something that is a present reality. It is a past event. In Romans 8, it says this, for those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. That means as soon as you decide to become a believer and fall in love with Christ, you are predestined to be like him. And yet, so often we forget this, don't we? We put it away in that box somewhere safe and we forget we've got this information. Because God always wanted us to remember that he'd created us in his image. And he wants to restore that image in us, doesn't he? Each one of us are like him. We are unique, totally different from each other, but like him. And we are predestined to know that likeness to him. And we are imprinted with his personality, his creativity, his capacity to love and be loved. We have a desire to connect with each other. And we have his authority, don't we? To overcome evil with good. We are to reflect his glory here on earth. But again, sometimes we can put that information in a box, somewhere safe, and totally forget about it, and forget it's the reality. And when Paul is writing here in this particular passage, and he talks about transforming, this is what he means. he's talking about this kind of transformation. Caterpillar into a butterfly. And that's the transformation that has happened. It's also the transformation that's going to happen one day completely. And it's also the transformation that's happening incrementally. It's one of those bizarre Christian concepts where it's past, future, and present. That's right. So that's why it's a really great thing. And that's why it's such a great word that he's used here. It only crops up twice in the Bible. And this word, transform, is like that inner transformation, like the caterpillar that comes, it starts off looking one thing and comes out something totally different. And that's what we have when we are transformed into God's likeness. And Dallas Willard, he puts it like this. And this is what I love, it's such a simple way. This is what's happening in the past to us, will happen future properly, and is happening incrementally, is that we're becoming like Jesus. We have no more deceit, no more insincerity, no more defensiveness, no more envy, no more slander, and we move in an outward way in love and service to others. So let's just pause and reflect for a minute. How much of that is your present reality? Sometimes, if I'm honest, I put that away in a box somewhere really safe, and I forget that I should be like that, and perhaps not acting like it is the thing. And the reality is we all live like that, don't we? We all live in this kind of tension between the fact that this is our reality, but we don't always live like that. And the fact is, it is a hope that we have in the future, that we will be absolutely 100% that butterfly one day. Because we know in 1 John it says this, we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him. We shall see him as he is, and we will reflect that fully because we are being transformed. But the now and here is that it also is happening incrementally. It's happening step by step. In Corinthians it says this, Paul wrote this, and we all with unveiled faces beholding the glory of the Lord are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. I wonder actually a degree of glory, how quickly does that happen? I wonder if 1 degree of glory can take a decade sometimes. Maybe it happens in an instant. I wonder sometimes I've felt myself actually that 1 degree of glory to another, sometimes I really hope it comes instantaneously. That kind of click my fingers, God waves a magic wand and I'm instantaneously transformed into something different. And of course that can happen. God's Holy Spirit can instantaneously change things. But sometimes I wonder if we can also fall into the other trap of going the other way. We can be slightly fatalistic about this 1 degree of glory to the next. Sometimes I can settle and think, I think I'm a done deal now. I think I'm as good as I'm going to get. I'm kind of a bit stuck. Sometimes when I'm feeling particularly disappointed or my behaviour's been particularly bad, maybe I feel like God hasn't answered my prayers recently. And I feel like actually the wounds I've been carrying, maybe they're not as healed as they should be. And I can get a bit stuck. But I think there's probably a third way. In fact, this is what Paul seems to suggest in this bit of text. The third way, the way of partnering with Jesus. A process, transformation being a process of partnering with God. So we're walking with God each day, walking out our transformation in each degree. And in this bit of text here, there's 3 kind of things that he's trying to say. There's the first one. We need to offer ourselves to God as a living sacrifice. The second he says is, do not conform yourself to the present age, or this age now, the world around us. And finally, be transformed by renewing your mind. So how can we partner with God to do this? Well, I think the Message translation is really helpful actually for us in this particular bit of text. So if we're going to offer ourselves as a living sacrifice, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Offer yourselves a living sacrifice. But when Paul was writing this to his particular audience, when he was writing it to the Romans, this was kind of normal language to them because they were really used to sacrificing things. They've been sacrificing animals, they'd even been sacrificing humans sometimes, if they'd come from a pagan background. So sacrificing was something that was very normal to them. It was their usual type of worship. And so Paul's saying, hang on a minute, this is your worship. So forget the singing of the songs and the dancing and all that kind of thing. Your worship to God is to present yourself as a living sacrifice to him. And that means kind of offering up everything to him, offering up yourselves fully, holy and pleasing, but actually all the other stuff too. You know those days when you wake up and you're a bit grumpy, when you bib your horn and you go about your business and you feel a bit rubbish, offer that to God. But when you're doing really well as well, when everything's going really well, you feel like a butterfly rather than being in the cocoon, offer that as well, because that's your living sacrifice. That's your life as a sacrifice to him. And the message says this, it's really helpful. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you, take your everyday, ordinary life, you're sleeping, eating, going to work and walking around, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Isn't that lovely? He wants us to embrace what he does for us. And so I wonder if you can think now, is your life, is your worship to God your presentation of yourself? Can you present yourself to God each day in the same way and say, God, I give you my life, I give you my day, I give you everything. This is my presentation to you. And then when we've done that, the next thing is we have to not do something. We don't want to conform to the world around us. Now, when Paul is writing this, he is thinking about the present age of the Romans. And, he's thinking about the Roman system around them, which was oppressive, and there was slavery and all sorts of horrible stuff. And a lot of the things that existed then exist nowadays. And Paul is saying, don't be formed by that. N.T. Wright puts it really brilliantly. He says this, don't let the present age squeeze you into its mould. How squeezed are you into the mould of this present age? We all of us have life experiences. We're brought up in a certain way by our parents. We have personal life histories which impact us. We have been informed by the decisions we've made in our lives, with the relationships we've had, the education we've had. And these things aren't necessarily all bad. They could be quite good. But Paul is saying, don't let those things shape you. Don't let those things form you. You are a new creation. You're that butterfly. You'll come out. That is the truth. You don't need to be formed, held in by that cocoon anymore. You don't want to take on the world. And again, I think the message says it brilliantly. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. So therefore, we don't want to be conformed by that. We want to be formed by what God says. So how well adjusted are you in the culture around you? How comfortable are you in 21st century Bristol? Or is actually there things about it that think, I don't really like that? We have to think about it, don't we? We have to notice. So of course, the last thing we have to do is we need to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And this little bit here, be transformed, I think is one of the most brilliant couple of words in the whole Bible, actually. Because what God is saying here is like, and if those of you anyone of you like grammar, and I used to be a primary school teacher, so I quite like grammar, this is what is called a passive imperative. So you can just drop that into the conversation wherever you're kind of talking, wherever you go. And this means that in primary school teachers' words, it is a command, an imperative. You've got to do it. It's a bossy verb, we used to call them. However, it's a passive one. So it's a bossy way of telling you to be transformed, but not by you, but by God. Let God transform you. That's what he wants to do. But it's a present tense verb, which means it's happening right now. So right now, you're being transformed by God. And he's saying this, that you have to let your mind be renewed in order that you don't conform to the world. You take on the formation of God to help you grow your wings and become the butterfly you were meant to be by changing our thinking. You probably realise, I don't know about you personally, but I know in my life that actually my mind has been a battlefield sometimes. It's the place where actually, you're thinking things, what God has said about you, but actually you're thinking something different, Ephesians tells us, doesn't it, that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and the powers and the world forces of this darkness and the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. He's talking about how that actually our thought life sometimes can be taken over almost, can't it? And we all have ideas about things. We've grown up in our culture, in our families of origin. We know about things like science and freedom and literature and all those kinds of things, and we have thoughts about it. But what God is saying is think my thoughts about things. So how do we do that? How do we get our minds to be renewed so they think the thoughts of Christ? Well, I think we have to remember that we're always partnering with Jesus. And the best place to go to partner with Jesus is we need to know what he thinks about things. What is the information that Jesus has told us? What's the actions that Jesus did that can inform our thinking? We need to be people that fix our attention on Jesus, paying attention to his teachings, paying attention to what he has done for us in the past and what he will do in the future and what he's presently doing right now. You know, when Jesus came to earth, he proclaimed the good news about the kingdom of heaven. He proclaimed the good news about his Father in heaven, and he healed and he loved people. And his actions and his words are the things that need to inform our brains, our thinking. But we need to fix our attention on Jesus. We need to look at him, the author and the creator of our faith, and we need to immerse him into our minds. But remembering, it's not our work, it's our partnership with him. So this afternoon, as we sort of want to come to land, we need to remember our partnership with the Holy Spirit, who fills us and equips us. Our partnership with his word in the Bible, which tells us the things that we need to know. And also our partnership with each other, because when Paul writes this, he's writing to a community of believers. He's writing to a church like you're a church. And he's saying that this transformation isn't something that you do on your own individually, it's something that happens in community.